Welcome back to Life on the Big Flat. This is part 5 and the final part to this series of mapping out my grandmother's family's homesteading community in northern Montana known as the Big Flat. So I don't have to tell you the use of mapping out communities like this. I think it's really eye-opening. It helps you visualize your ancestry a little bit better, but most importantly, I do it to assist me in planning heritage travel. If I ever take a trip to northern Montana, I want to know where to go. I don't want to just drive around aimlessly in Blaine County, Montana. I want to know exactly where my ancestors lived, exactly what they would have seen, and this is a map that helps me do that. But what would a trip be if it was just these random properties? That's not much of a trip. I need to make it a little bit more fun, and I also want to learn a little bit more about my family in doing so. So in this final episode of Life on the Big Flat, I'm going to be mapping out some special places that my ancestors would frequent. In this series, I'll be mapping out the homesteading community where my grandmother lived in a desolate area of northern Montana. I'll be going through all the photos, all the family stories, all the memories, and putting them here on this map to get a better idea of what life was like on the Big Flat. Now, starting off, I am going to map 2 different churches. So my great-grandmother was Catholic and her husband was Lutheran. The children were all raised Catholic. My grandmother was raised Catholic. And in fact, my great-aunt told me that her dad would drive his wife and all the kids to Catholic church every Sunday, and he would sit out in the car and read magazines. And I think that's just the cutest thing in the world. That's so supportive. So there are 2 churches here that I want to plot. The first one is this Catholic church. Now, I had to do some research to find out what church my family would have gone to. My grandmother's sister told me, the only details that she told me was that it was between Hoagland and Turner, which if we look on the map here, here's Hoagland and here is Turner. So I knew the church had to be somewhere here. So I was reading through this history of Blaine County. It's called Thunderstorms and Tumbleweeds, and they have a chapter all about the churches. And when I came across this church, I knew it was the right one. It was founded around the same time period that my family would have been there. It was a Catholic church, and it was right between Hoagland and Turner, and I knew that this had to be the church. So I couldn't find an address for it when I was looking for it online, but I did know that it was somewhere here. So I zoomed in, and I actually went on Google Maps, not Google My Maps, they're different, and did Street View and went all along Hoagland Road here. Now I understand why it's called the Big Flat. There literally is nothing there except flatlands. And much to my dismay, I did not find the church. I know I would have seen it because it would have been the only standing structure in the area. And then I realized it was actually down this road here. So if we zoom in, you'll see St. Thomas Aquinas Church, and I am just going to pin this on the map. So this is a pretty easy one. I'm just going to put a pin here, add to map, and there is one of the special places that I want to visit. So there's also a church up here. Reading that Thunderstorms and Tumbleweeds book, I actually found out that the book actually says that the land for this church was donated by Carl Lundin and Carl Caldall. When I read that in the book, I also was just like, yes, I mapped these lands properly, like everything is matching up. But this church is the Silverbow Lutheran Church, and I am a little confused about the family history because in Thunderstorms and Tumbleweeds, it actually says down here that Sunday school was started, and because there was no place for the Catholic children to receive religious training, the school sort of split between Lutherans and Catholics. There was both Catholic Sunday school and Lutheran Sunday school used in the church. Now, this is a memory that my grandmother's sister also told me. She actually told me that her mother taught Catholic Sunday school in the Lutheran church, and that Aunt Ida, actually, who we met in the previous episode, taught Lutheran Sunday school. But I am confused because I assumed that that would have applied to this Catholic church that we just mapped, not the Lutheran church, because, I mean, in the same story that she was telling me, she told me that their church was between Hoagland and Turner, which is definitely this church down here. It's not this church up here. So I do need to look into that a little bit more. Maybe they attended both churches, although if there was a Catholic church, I'm not sure why they would go to Lutheran church. But in any case, I'm going to put this on the map because I do want to visit it at least. And there also is a cemetery on the same property where my great-great-great-grandmother is buried, actually. She died pretty soon after arriving on the big flat of cancer, and they buried her in this cemetery. So it is just a very special place in my family history, and I just want to add it to the map. Although if you'll see, I can't click on it because it just wants to take me to Carl Lundin's property. So I think I'm going to get around that by typing in Silverboat Lutheran Church, and I will just add that to the map. And there we go. So there we have just added 2 special places to this map that I can visit while I go to Montana. But what would a trip to Montana be if I didn't spend any time in nature? One of my grandmother's earliest memories that she wrote down, and she actually labeled her photos with this, is that she remembers going to the Little Rockies with all her cousins. She said there would always be big groups of her family and her cousins and even neighbors and all of their kids, and they would all go to the Little Rockies and camp together. And I just want to put the Little Rockies on this map because I want to go there. It's part of beautiful Montana, but it's also specific to my family history. I want to visit all these places that my grandmother would have found joy in, would have had great memories at. So I'm going to put the Little Rockies on this map. To find the Little Rockies, I went to Bureau of Land Management, not General Land Office records this time. We are at just Bureau of Land Management because they manage all of the parks, obviously. And I found the Little Rockies Recreation Management Area, which is definitely the Little Rockies that my grandmother was talking about. It is right here. I assume it's this yellow splotch here, Little Rocky Mountains. And it looks like it's between Zortman and Hayes. So I'm going to go back to my map and see what I find between Zortman and Hayes. I'm just going to go back to the normal map so I can see town names easily, and I believe Zortman is, where is Zortman? Down here. Zortman and Hayes. So clearly this green area is the Little Rockies area. So I'm just going to see, it doesn't look like there's any Little Rockies pin here. Maybe I can just pin Antoine Butte and say that's the Little Rockies. So let's just pin that. Add to map, rename it as Little Rockies. So here you'll see that my grandmother actually wrote down all the memories that she had of the Little Rockies. So she said there were always Bensons, Bergrens, Gardners, and an assortment of neighbors, Petersons, Vadmans, and Linens. She even writes down a memory of how she got there. For the trip to the mountains, all the kids who were considered old enough or smart enough not to jump or fall out were allowed to ride in the back of Ed Benson's truck. I think that is just the funniest memory. There must have been lots of dust flying as we went over the dirt roads, but I just remember it as wonderful fun. And then she attached some photos here of all the family and friends, the Little Rockies, and I think this is just adorable. And the last special place that I want to put on this map is another nature area in Montana. It's called the Bowdoin Hot Springs. My grandmother wrote in some of her memories that she would go down to Bowdoin Hot Springs, and she said that's where everyone learned to swim except her. I want to add this to the map just because it was special enough for her to remember it and to have photos from it, and I think that would just be a very special thing to go to Montana and visit. So I do know that the Bowdoin Hot Springs are down here. Looks like they're down here near Malta. And they're part of the Bowdoin National Wildlife Refuge. And I'm going to assume now that you probably can't swim in this, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. If you're from Montana, let me know. Don't want to get arrested. This is why I stress heritage travel so much. It doesn't all have to be about genealogy. It doesn't have to be about going to see family homes, going to visit cemeteries, going to visit churches. Even if you don't have these memories from your family of going to these hot springs or camping in the Little Rockies, just look at the map and see what's around where your family lived, and those can be hidden gems for your travel that no one else would go to and that you wouldn't go to if it weren't for your own family history. So now that I've given you the whole heritage travel spiel that I normally give people, I'm going to finally put this Bowdoin National Wildlife Refuge onto my map. Let's just drop a pin right here. And there we go. There is our last special place. Now, as I continue my genealogy research, I'm sure I'll find more mentions of people or places that my family called home, but this is it for now. I think that this gave you a pretty good overview of the sorts of things that I keep an eye out for when I'm reading through diary entries or looking through old photos. Don't take anything for granted. So I think this looks like a pretty good map, and I will keep working on it off camera. Let me know down below if you found this series helpful, enlightening at all, inspiring. And if you decide to do this yourself, take a video of it and share it with me, please. I would love to see the process that other people go through when they're researching their family histories and the places that their family called home. And one last thing that I need to change on this map is the title. Right now it's just Montana Genealogy, but I think I need to title it something else. There we go. Thank you for watching this Romeo Roots series. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss another video. Thanks for watching.